Good day, everyone. Today's the big day. I've decided to upgrade my iPod Hi-Fi. And so this is 2006 vintage. It actually has 2005 copyright on it, so 2005. They did discontinue it in 2006, so it's the newest you can get. So first of all, I'll try to heat the front plate. So this is an aluminum plate that comes off. The problem is it's quite tough to get under it, and so we'll see how destructive that is. I hope not at all. Let's see. Alright, so once you're done heating up the front plate to where it's quite warm to the touch, I would say even hot, you want to jam a simple knife like this one between the front plate and the body of the case. This should be quite easy to start off with, but it will take quite a lot of effort since the entire area of this front plate is covered in double-sided stick tape, and it is quite powerful. So yeah, basically you have to just make your way around the entire speaker. And one thing to take note of is not to go too far with the knives, as I am here, because you might touch the membranes, which is pretty bad, and which is exactly what I did over there. I don't know if you saw it. If you want to see it in slow motion, do click the link in the video description for just the teardown video. And yeah, so basically once you're done taking off the front plate, you'll have access to all the screws. The base reflex adapters will fall out. And you will most likely need to put new double-sided stick tape here if you want it to sit really flush. But yeah, and also the front plate will bend, so that'll be quite a tedious job getting it back together. So now that the front plate is off, let's go ahead at the screws. Everyone says to take off the subwoofer, but I really do want to access everything comfortably, so I'll Alright, so it doesn't seem to want to easily come off, so obviously the cables, there's some cables that will need undoing, and that seems to be very hard, so we might actually have to take the subwoofer separately off. Yeah, so as you can see, you can't really get to anything because of this plastic mold, which is quite annoying. Alright, so the subwoofer will have to be disconnected from the amplifier module. So it is a dual voice coil speaker, so quite a nice one. Alright, so now that that's out, Alright, so now that that's out of the way, you have this module that contains the two mid-range speakers, mid and high range. And yeah. Alright, so what we want to do now is inject some audio into the 3.5mm jack that's in the back. And I can already see some connections over there. So what we'll be using for that is a generic Bluetooth 4.0 board. This one is has a 12 volt DC to DC converter on the back that also doubles as a ground loop isolator. And yeah, these are readily available, so you should get these in from China for well below 20 bucks. I think I paid 13 for this one. And what we'll also be using is a 12 volt linear regulator. So this is the L7812. And yeah, these are also pretty cheap parts. All right, so now what we need to do is find where to inject the audio through, and get ourselves some power for this module. I'm pretty sure this will run on more than 12 volts, so we should be able to get away with that. So I'll pause the video now, look for the stuff, poke around, and then come back. So poking around on the power connector, I have found that there is actually a 16 volt line. And so given how this connector plugs in like this, we're talking about the second row being the negative and the third row being the positive of this 16 volt rail. So let me just show this right quick. So we are getting 16 volts, which should be enough to make our regulator stable and give us our 12 volts. So up next, I'm gonna disconnect this entire board. First of all, unplug it. Although I'm pretty sure Apple does have some pristine power supplies in here anyway. So unplug this whole module. It has 4 wires and a couple of more, 4 screws and a couple of more wires. Alright, so unfortunately this the mains end comes directly into the power supply. And yeah, I just wanted to have easier access, so I don't think I'm going to disconnect that. So up next, I'll want to connect onto the 16 volt line. And so to do that, alright, so the power supply is rated 17 volts 1.6 amps, so that'll be plenty for our module. 6 volts 0.3 amps and 3 volts 0.1 amps. Yeah. Actually seems to have 2 separate 17 volt lines, so one is 0.5 amps. Well, I'm pretty sure loading either one of those won't be a problem. Also, the power supply has some impressive isolation. Not too bad. Alright, so now I've traced where the beefier 17 volt line goes to, and it's this track here, and I'm just going to solder tack some wires on top of it, and then bring those out of the power supply for our Bluetooth module. Alright, so given the fact that I don't know exactly how hot this gets, I would assume not at all. Uh, at least this part of the board. Um, I will put some Kapton tape here just in case, so that the wires, if stuff gets incredibly toasty here, so that the wires won't melt onto the board, because there seems to be quite a lot of control circuitry here, so I don't want that getting a blast of 17 volts. So white negative, and we are getting about 17 volts, so very nice. So yeah, this is how it looks. It's quite impressive how it doesn't have any heat sinking on this, or so very efficient design, especially for 2005, which is the date that's popping up on all the boards and all the parts, so not too bad. Alright, so the next step will be to intercept the 3.5 millimeter jack input, and that is connected to a little daughter board here. Alright, so after quite a bit of deliberation, I've installed the linear regulator on this side. And so we have the 17 volt rail that is also here doubled from the back of the PCB. And it's getting smoothed to a 12 volt. This is actually quite imprecise, it's like 2.3. I don't know why, but it should still be fine. And so now what's left to be done is to find the spot for the Bluetooth board. And also on the jack, you'll have to connect three wires to be able to inject sound into this. So they're labeled. It's connection 1 is left, connection 2 is right, and connection 8 is ground. Now, unfortunately, as I've previously mentioned, I think, the iPod Hi-Fi disconnects, turns off the amplifier when the jack is unplugged and when there's no iPod plugged in. So unfortunately, I thought initially that it's these three connections, because all of these three go to ground. And they do come on separate pads here, and I have tried connecting them together, but with no avail. And if you actually stick a toothpick inside here, you can actually get it to trigger. So there's some kind of optical sensing done here. I don't know exactly why, but it is the way they're doing it. So yeah, the compromise is to just have a little jack thing sticking out. It's not really that elegant, but it'll have to do. So yeah, I'll I'll reseat the jack connector and connect up the wires to this. Right, so now we have all the wires that we'll need to connect to the Bluetooth module. So on the left I have a copy of the jack input on the back. So black ground, white is left, and right is red. And the 12-volt supply. So we'll be connecting the audio connections to these I don't know. So on the top right, let's say the three uppermost ones. So out left, audio ground, and out right. And on the lower left side, we'll be connecting, I hope that was in focus. And on the lower left, we'll be connecting plus 12 volts to VCC and the ground to this ground. Notice that there's two of them. One of them goes directly to the Bluetooth module. The other one goes to the DC to DC converter, and we definitely need to use that one. So lowest two most pins on the left and highest three pins on the right. All right, so I'm done securing everything in place. And yeah, this is how it looks. I've got the regulator on the power supply, and I've just hot snotted the Bluetooth board on the back of the battery container, and I've secured the wire again in one spot so that it doesn't rattle. Shouldn't have been a big problem, but Alright, so now we're going to connect back the speaker module. And this is going to be very tricky. Alright, so now that everything's back together, and I must say it really doesn't want to go back together. The few cables, it's a nightmare anyway. So I have connected all of them, hopefully. And so let's turn this on. And see if we can discover the module inside. All right, looking good. And it does work. So I'm gonna put the screws back together, see what I'm gonna do with the faceplate, and yeah, but this is pretty much all there is to it. The only inelegant thing about this entire procedure is the little jack plug you need to put in the back. Let's see if it works without it, although nah, so it doesn't. So you need to put in a dummy plug so that it does work. Otherwise it won't. But that's a small price to pay for having Bluetooth connectivity on a 12-year-old speaker. So yeah, thanks for watching, and yeah, let me know how your build goes, and yeah, feel free to ask in the comments if you have any further questions.